Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a really close look at the heartbreaking and highly publicized Lindsay Clancy case. This is a story that has absolutely captivated the internet, generating just countless viral discussions. But as we comb through the source material and the actual trial testimony, a really stark contrast starts to emerge. We're going to look at how the court of public opinion has drastically, and sometimes wildly, diverged from the actual court of law. It's a fascinating look at how we process unimaginably bleak reality in the digital age. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our agenda. Section 1 is the undisputed tragic facts. Section 2, the CVS doppelganger theory. Section 3 tackles the police investigation rumors. Section 4 asks, did Lindsay fake psychosis? Section 5 covers the DA homeowner conspiracy. And finally, Section 6, courtroom reality versus internet fiction. Section 1, the undisputed tragic facts, anchoring in reality. To truly understand the massive gap between these wild internet theories and the actual trial, we really have to ground ourselves in reality first. On that terrible day, January 24th, 2023, Lindsay Clancy used exercise bands to strangle her 3 young children, 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan. Following this, she took crushed medications, slit her wrists and throat, and jumped from a second-story window. She survived the suicide attempt, but she remains paralyzed from the waist down. During all of this, her husband Patrick Clancy was actively out running errands. Now, here is the absolute most vital piece of context to keep in mind. Lindsay's defense team doesn't deny she killed her kids. They completely admit it happened. The trial we're looking at is not a whodunit.
So the crucial point is understanding her plea. Because the defense acknowledges she committed the act, they're relying on the insanity defense. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, this basically means they're arguing she wasn't criminally responsible because she lacked the capacity to understand her actions at the time or to tell right from wrong, specifically due to severe postpartum psychosis.
Section 2, the CVS doppelganger theory, examining the internet's suspicions. Despite those clearly established facts we just covered, online sleuths went ahead and formed alternative narratives anyway. The first major internet rumor we need to examine involves the security footage of Patrick running errands. People all over TikTok and Reddit started asking, was it really Patrick Clancy on those security cameras? A deeply entrenched theory emerged suggesting Patrick actually had a friend pretend to be him, visiting the CVS and the local restaurant so that Patrick could stay home and commit the crimes himself. And this brilliantly illustrates the vast disconnects between internet sleuthing and legal reality. Online, people hyperfixate on these tiny visual discrepancies. They claim the man on the camera had a different color shirt under his jacket, different shoe soles, and straight hair at CVS but wavy hair at the restaurant. But what about in the courtroom? There is absolute consensus. Literally neither the Commonwealth nor the defense has ever disputed that it was Patrick Clancy on those tapes. It's a completely undisputed alibi that parts of the internet simply refuse to accept. Section 3, the police investigation rumors, scrutinizing the timeline. That brings us right to the theories suggesting Patrick wasn't properly investigated by the authorities. To look at this, we really have to scrutinize his extremely tight timeline on the evening of the tragedy. Here is the exact chronological timeline presented in court. At 5:15 p.m., Lindsay texts Patrick about children's medication, and he leaves the house. Now, there was a point of confusion in court because an email was actually sent to his coworkers from his home Surface Pro at 5:24 p.m. But Patrick testified he was likely in his car and sent it from his iPhone, which syncs with his accounts. He's then seen entering CVS at 5:32 p.m., leaves the 3V restaurant at 5:54 p.m., returns home, discovers the scene, and calls 911 at 6:11 p.m. 17 minutes. Think about that. If we subtract Patrick's verified errands from the timeline, he would have had a maximum 17 to 24-minute window to theoretically carry out these horrific acts. Medical examiners pinpointed the children's time of death between 5:15 and 6 p.m., and experts testified it takes 6 to 8 minutes to die by ligature strangulation. So logistically and mathematically, the internet's theory that Patrick killed his 3 children in that tiny window completely falls apart. The internet also loves to claim that Patrick wasn't properly investigated, but courtroom testimony actually shows he fully cooperated. He actively turned over evidence. He found pill bottles in the center console of his truck and gave them straight to the state police. He found other pill bottles in the master bedroom nightstand and handed them over to the defense attorney, Kevin Reddington. He even provided Lindsay's Apple Watch to the police. The idea that he was somehow shielded from investigation just doesn't align with the evidence presented under oath. And if we need to be pulled back into the devastating courtroom reality of that night, we only need to look at the first responder testimony. Police officers who arrived at the house described finding Patrick in the dark, cluttered basement. When they illuminated him with a flashlight, the officer testified, he looked up and he screamed, "She killed the kids." It was a scene of sheer, authentic horror, completely devoid of the calculated plot twists the internet suggests.
Section 4. Did Lindsay fake psychosis? Medical expert testimonies. Let's move to and see how this builds into the next major debate, Lindsay's mental state. Some online communities speculate that Lindsay meticulously faked her symptoms and wasn't really suffering from postpartum psychosis at all. In court, both sides have presented starkly different medical and witness testimonies. Prosecution witnesses noted that in her evaluations, Lindsay's thoughts actually appeared linear and goal-oriented. They pointed out she searched terms like psychosis and various medications on her phone, and she explicitly asked to change her healthcare proxy from Patrick to her parents right after the event. However, defense experts argue that postpartum psychosis features waxing and waning hallucinations. They note she had severe intrusive thoughts and claim she was hearing a man's voice telling her it was her last chance to act. Perhaps one of the most powerful and frankly shocking pieces of testimony came not from a medical expert, but from Sue Clancy, Patrick's mother and Lindsay's ex-mother-in-law. Despite losing her 3 grandchildren, she testified for the defense. She stated that Lindsay was over-medicated and suffering, testifying she was yelling for anybody and nobody did anything. Having the victim's own grandmother testify positively for the defense's theory strongly challenges the online narrative that Lindsay was just faking it. Defense experts also testified that Lindsay suffered from something called ideas of reference. This is a terrifying psychiatric symptom where a person literally believes strangers can hear what they're thinking. Lindsay reportedly expressed severe paranoia that the teachers at her children's school could read her mind and that she was going to lose custody. This paints a picture of a deeply disturbed mental state, which is far removed from the calculated planner the internet theorizes about. Section 5. The DA homeowner conspiracy, the real estate rumor. Now we arrive at the final and perhaps most bizarre internet rumor surrounding this entire case. It involves the current owner of the tragic Duxbury home, and it has fueled massive speculation about government corruption. A viral TikTok theory just exploded when public records revealed that in January 2024, a man named Michael Phippen purchased the former Clancy home for $675,000. The detail that really fueled this viral speculation? Well, Phippen happens to be a former assistant district attorney for Plymouth County, the very same jurisdiction prosecuting this case. People immediately alleged he was conspiring with the DA's office to cover for Patrick and frame Lindsay. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how easily the actual facts dismantle this whole conspiracy. The internet claims an active DA is conspiring on the case. The facts? Michael Phippen left the DA's office in 2018. That is a full 5 years before this tragedy even occurred. The internet claims buying the house was part of a cover-up. The facts? Duxbury is an incredibly affluent, expensive area. Phippen, who is now a defense attorney, simply purchased a stigmatized home that needed repairs at a massive discount. Expert criminal defense attorney Matt Tampanek notes it is literally nothing more than a real estate coincidence.
Section 6. Courtroom reality versus internet fiction. Why we invent mysteries. So, why does this happen? Why do these wild narratives gain so much traction? Let's take a step back and analyze this massive gap between viral true crime internet culture and the actual sobering justice system. According to legal experts, there are several drivers behind this phenomenon. First off, content creators push extreme conspiracies simply because it generates clicks and cash. Second, audiences have really been conditioned to want true crime to have a hidden plot twist that they can personally solve right from their couches. When these groups gather online, they create an echo chamber of confirmation bias. The reality is, the undeniable truth of a tragedy like this is often just too bleak and straightforward to accept. Fortunately, the actual jurors deciding this case are strictly sequestered from these absurd online theories. Attorney Matt Tampanek really hit the nail on the head when reviewing this case, stating, "Because the truth is often very boring in true crime cases. It's this confirmation bias that has created this idea that everything is a conspiracy. The court of public opinion desperately values a solvable, exciting mystery over the horrific, undeniable facts presented under oath." As this trial continues, the evidence in the courtroom will remain heavily focused on psychological evaluations, timestamps, and tragic realities, while the internet will probably just keep hunting for shadows. Which leaves us with a final, lingering thought. Are internet sleuths truly searching for justice or simply looking for an entertaining distraction from an unimaginably bleak reality? Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we will see you next time.